My name is Carrie Westbrook, and I'm one of the health coaches here at HealthMed. Today's Lunch and Learn presentation is on stress and mindfulness. So just kind of an outline of what we're going to go over. We're going to start by talking about the specific stressors of today, especially considering everything that is going on in the world right now. And then we're going to go into how stress affects us and talk about how to make stress our friend. And then we'll go into 5 specific ways to cope with stress in a healthy way, and one of those ways being mindfulness, and we'll go into a little bit more detail of how to practice mindfulness. So on a normal day, we all have a good bit of stress in our lives that we have to learn to cope with. But right now, with everything going on in the world with coronavirus and quarantining ourselves, there's even more stress that all of a sudden we're having to learn how to cope with. It's affecting everyone in very different ways and also in very similar ways. And we're having to grieve what we're missing out on. And so this just adds an entirely new level of stress in our lives. And so today we're going to try and talk through some healthy ways to cope with that. So we're going to go over some specific stressors this time of quarantine. One of the big ones is just a fear of being infected, whether, being infected yourself or your loved ones being infected with the virus. It's something that we don't normally have to think about, when you go to the grocery store, or even if you just pass someone on a walk, if you're too close to them, thinking about, am I getting infected? Am I spreading this or not? It's a very valid fear that on a normal day-to-day basis we haven't had to really deal with before. Another stressor is work. So whether it has changed your income or not, it's probably changed your location. A lot of people are having to work remote right now, and that just adds a whole nother layer of stress, whether it's harder to get your work done because you're not there in person communicating with people, or just having to balance that home work-life balance if you have kids at home or not, just other people in your house. It's another layer you have to figure out how to navigate. Another big thing that we're all having to deal with is grieving, missing very important events in our lives. And I think it's very common for a lot of us to say, there's bigger stuff going on. I shouldn't be worried about missing these little things in my life. But, you were looking forward to this, and it's okay to grieve these things even though there are bigger things going on. So whether you had a big vacation planned for this spring that you're really looking forward to, weddings, funerals, graduations, all of those are looking different. There's no school, so if your kids are, missing out seeing their teachers and their friends and also having to do school at home, that can be very difficult. And also just day-to-day activities, whether that's social functions, going to church, going and eating out, and just being social and being with people. We were made to be social, and so it's to be expected that it's hard on us to, not have that anymore. We were made for community and for connection with others. And so it is a very valid stress that we are having to deal with right now. All of a sudden, we are trying to cope with this big added stress in our lives. So that's kind of what we want to address today in today's presentation is how are you coping with this added stress? You can't always change the circumstances that you're in, but you can manage how you're responding to them. So think through, how are you coping with this stress right now? Are you ignoring it and suppressing what you're feeling? Or are you doing the opposite? Are you not able to stop thinking about it? Is your mind always racing? And stress can affect us physically, especially if you experience stress long term, because stress makes us release hormones. And these hormones are designed to actually help us in the moment to cope with what's going on. But the problem comes when this psychological stress is continuous and we don't have a break from it, and we just stay in this constant state of readiness, of that fight or fight response. And then the influx of these hormones over a long extended period of time can actually cause health issues. I'm going to go over some common symptoms of stress. So pay attention to this list and try and take note of if you're experiencing this, whether you're experiencing this before on just a day-to-day basis, or if it's kind of amped up in the past month or not. So like I said, some common symptoms of stress are trouble sleeping, whether that's falling asleep or staying asleep, unexplained weight loss or weight gain, anger, irritability, if you have a loss of interest in activities that you're normally very interested in, feelings of isolation, loneliness, or withdrawal from others, having trouble concentrating. You might be experiencing that when you're working from home, and constant worry or obsessive thinking. Like I said a couple slides ago, chronic stress over time can actually negatively affect your body in a very real way. And I just thought this picture did a pretty good job of summarizing all the different ways that it could potentially affect you negatively. One of the biggest ways is your cardiovascular health. It can increase your risk of heart attack and stroke. Another big thing right now we need to think about is it can actually decrease your immune function, lower your immune defenses, and that can actually increase your risk of becoming ill. So we have options of how to deal with the stress. We can either do away with stress completely, which is very unlikely. We can avoid all stressful situations, which is almost impossible, especially with everything going on right now. We can learn to live with the negative effects of stress that I just went over, which is not desirable, or we can learn to adapt with the stress and cope with it in a healthy way. And of course, that is the optimal choice out of all of those. And so that's going to be what we focus on the rest of this presentation. I don't know if you've ever watched the very popular TED Talk by Kelly McGonigal on how to make stress your friend, but I thought it was a very timely video for everyone to watch right now. We actually sent it out in an email earlier this week, so you should have received that. But if not, the link to this TED Talk is going to be in the bio of this video, so I'd highly recommend going and watching it. But I just wanted to pull some main points from that video that she talks about. She mainly talks about how changing the way you think about stress can actually change your body's response to it in a healthier way. So what if you, instead of viewing your body's signs of stress and anxiety like an increased heart rate and sweating and things like that, not as a negative, but actually as a sign that your body is preparing you to meet the challenge at hand, that your body is having that stress response to help you meet the demand. And so the way that you think about stress matters. Think of your stress response as helpful, and when you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. So with everything going on right now and the stress that you're feeling, think about it in a positive way, that the stress that you're feeling is your body's way of getting you amped up and ready to meet the demand at hand. We're going to go over 5 main ways to cope with stress in a healthy way. So those are getting physical activity and fresh air, talking to others and reaching out, taking a break from the news or from your work, taking care of yourself, and lastly, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into mindfulness. The first way to cope with stress that we're going to go over today is physical activity and getting in some fresh air. So as long as walks are allowed, which right now they are, take advantage of this beautiful spring weather. Of course, practice proper social distancing if you pass anyone walking, but don't miss out on the fact that flowers are blooming right now. This virus can't stop spring from happening, and get out and enjoy this season. You've probably never had this much time to slow down and really enjoy it. Also, getting in physical activity can really boost your mental health and help you cope with that stress and make you just feel less cooped up and let you get some energy out. So one really cool thing that's happening right now that I'm seeing is a lot of fitness studios and instructors are offering free virtual classes. I've had a couple of my normal fitness instructors at my gym do some Facebook Live videos of workouts online. So that's been really fun to tune into those. So look out for things like that. And then also all you need is some running shoes to get outside and go for a jog or a walk and enjoy the weather while getting in some exercise. A great way to cope with stress right now is to reach out and talk to others. Right now it's harder to be social, but it doesn't mean that you can't be social in a very safe way right now. So be creative with staying connected with other people and your friends while practicing proper social distancing. A great way to do that is through FaceTime or Zoom. We use Zoom a lot for work, but it's not just for work. I've actually been using it to have small group every week, and we've actually played charades with our friends on Zoom. So get creative with things like that and still try and be social as much as you can virtually. Make it a goal to have a meaningful conversation with someone over the phone or FaceTime once a day with someone just to help stay connected with the people in your life. Another big way to cope with stress right now in particular is to just take a break. and mainly taking a break from social media and the news. Those are two things that can really feed into our stress response right now. So with social media, set boundaries for how much you're on social media. It can be a really great tool right now to stay connected with everybody, but you don't have to be on it all the time. So, for example, maybe set aside one day a week to completely disconnect from social media and just be present in what you're doing that day. Or every day you could set aside a specific time of day to not use social media, whether that's the first 2 hours when you wake up or the last 2 hours before you go to sleep. Also, make sure you're taking a break from checking the news every hour. Of course, it's really important to stay informed about updates of what's going on, and information can actually be helpful to know what's actually happening, but checking the news every hour every day can actually feed into your stress response and make it a million times worse because you're thinking about worst case scenarios. So check the news when you need to, but maybe set aside some times where you're not constantly checking it and aware of what's going on everywhere in the world. Taking care of yourself may seem like a little too obvious of a point, but it really is a big way to cope with stress that a lot of us may need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves properly. So, first off, nutrition. Think through your meals and what you're eating every day. Are you more healthy, less healthy, about the same as normal? And are you feeling good about what you're eating? A lot of times, boredom and stress can lead us to overeating or just poor eating, making poor decisions. So one thing that can help with that is just having intention and structure around every meal. So having a proper breakfast, lunch, and dinner so you're not constantly stress snacking throughout the day. Another thing is sleep. The average adult needs about 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So make sure you're getting enough sleep. And if you're having trouble sleeping because of stress, then practice some of these other ways to cope with stress and see if that helps. And if not, then talk to your doctor about that. And then another way to take care of yourself that you may not think about is hobbies. Do you have any hobbies that you could do after work? Whether that's playing an instrument, that can be a great way to relieve some stress. Reading a book, painting, something that you've done in the past that you haven't had time to do recently. Hobbies can be a great thing to pick up right now. The last way to cope with stress that we're going to go over today is mindfulness. So we're going to spend a little bit more time defining mindfulness and then talking about how you can practically practice mindfulness right now. So mindfulness is just being present in an accepting and non-judgmental way. It's that simple and it's that difficult. So it's maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environments. So going on a walk is great, but how many times have you gone on a walk and your mind is full of work, family, chores, etc.? Do you really put yourself in the moment, and are you aware of the things around you, or is your mind constantly running? How can mindfulness help? Well, mindfulness and slowing down and taking a deep breath can help lower your stress. It can reduce harmful negative self-talk. It can improve your overall health because you're lowering your stress response, and it can protect against anxiety and depression. So what are some practical ways to cultivate mindfulness? Well, you can pay attention to your breathing, especially when you're feeling intense emotions. Just slow down and focus on your breath, your deep breath in and your deep breath out. Notice your senses in each moment, so sights, sounds, and smells. Recognize the thoughts that you're thinking and the emotions that you're feeling are fleeting and they do not define you. And lastly, tune into your body's physical sensations. We're going to go over some helpful mindfulness techniques. The first one is mindful breathing, and this is one of the biggest aspects of mindfulness and practicing it. So make sure that you're in a place that you feel comfortable and that you can feel peaceful in, and make sure you're in a nice, comfortable position. And then just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth slowly, and let go of your thoughts and let yourself be still for 1 minute. Relaxation and meditation can turn stress into peacefulness. So use mindful breathing during a stressful moment. Remember to erase the stressful thoughts or environment from your mind while focusing on your breathing, and just feel your chest rise and fall. Another mindfulness technique is mindful observation. Choose a natural object and focus on watching it for a minute or two. Allow yourself to be consumed by its presence and notice things about it that you haven't noticed before. Mindful observation is a great way to be aware of the environment around you. So take this flower, for example. It's so lush and unique and something that I've never seen before. Consume items, unique features, and take joy in the beauty that you find around you. A third mindfulness technique is mindful awareness. Each time that you think a negative thought, choose to take a moment to stop, label the thought as unhelpful, and release the negativity. Be purposefully aware of what you're doing and the blessings that you have in your life. Negativity can stop us from fully experiencing life. We must create a positive environment not only for ourselves but also for others too. Another important mindfulness technique is mindful listening. So much of what we see and hear daily is influenced by our past experiences, but when we listen mindfully, we achieve a neutral, present awareness that helps us hear sound without preconception. Listening is important, but it's difficult. Our lives are busy and noisy, but take the time to listen, absorb, and respond without judgment, argument, or being distracted on what you will say next. The next technique is mindful immersion. The intent of this exercise is to cultivate contentment in the moment and escape the persistent striving we find ourselves caught up in daily. Rather than anxiously waiting to finish an everyday routine task in order to get on with doing something else, take that regular routine and fully experience it like never before. Even housework can be enjoyable if you're present and looking for the good in the experience. Some other examples are gardening, exercising, hiking, etc. The last mindfulness technique that we're going to go over today is mindful appreciation. And I feel like this is a really important one with everything going on right now. So notice 5 things each day that normally go unappreciated. Give thanks and appreciate the seemingly insignificant things in life. Have you ever thought how different your life would be without these things? For example, can you imagine living without one of your senses? Do you appreciate the things that you're able to experience because you can see, hear, taste, and smell? So mindfulness can be used for more than just directly lowering your stress response. Some things it can be used to do is to break bad habits. It can increase your appreciation because you're slowing down and thinking through what you're grateful for. It obviously creates awareness about what's going on in your life moment to moment. It can help you think more clearly. Can help you lose weight because your stress response is lower and you're also thinking through what you're eating and you're intentional with what you're doing. Can help improve relationships because you're a better listener and you're more even-keeled. It can help you get more organized, and of course it can also decrease your stress. If you're new to mindfulness, then these can be some really helpful resources to kickstart your mindfulness practice. There's some amazing apps out there. Some that I really like are Even Flow, 3 Minute Mindfulness, Headspace, that's for mindfulness and sleep, and then hashtag mindful. There's also this really great book called Meditation for Beginners by Jack Hornfield that I highly recommend. And then also there's a bunch of different YouTube videos out there that can help you start practicing mindfulness. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this Lunch and Learn presentation today. I hope you found it helpful. So your health coaches here at Health Med are here for you, especially during this time. So if you have any questions, whether it's about your program or if you want to schedule a telephonic health coaching session, or if you just have further questions about how to prioritize your health during this time, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us via email or phone. We would love to hear from you.